Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 107th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So while this is another in the long list of personal favorites to come out of the Bay Area in the 90s, it definitely isn't your run-of-the-mill California G-Funk record. Yet at the same time, it wasn't taking the hieroglyphics or freestyle fellowship route of avoiding these sounds altogether. The Coup is another one of those acts whose lineup changed drastically over the years, but for their first couple albums it was comprised of E-Rock, Pam the Funktress, and Boots Riley, who's the one real mainstay of the Coup, remaining the frontman throughout their entire run. He would also be the head behind the dope 2018 sci-fi dark comedy movie Sorry to Bother You, which the collective also did the soundtrack for, as well as having another outfit called Street Sweeper Social Club with Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine. They would add live musicians, including bassists and drummers, after a while, but I don't believe any of them were officially members at this point. However, they were active on most of the albums, and while E-Rock would leave the group following this release, Pam the Funktress remained an integral part to the Coup until her unfortunate death in 2017. She conquered the DJ world despite it being virtually completely male-dominated, and even served as Prince's personal DJ the last few years of his life. All three were essential to making the second album a classic, and while a title like Genocide and Juice might seem somewhat controversial or edgy, in all honesty it's one of their tamer ones, as not only was their follow-up to this LP titled Steal This Double Album, but their debut that came before it was called Kill My Landlord. One of their only album titles that wasn't provocative was their fourth album, Party Music. However, it has what I would put money on as the most offensive cover in hip-hop, to the point I can't even really put the original cover in the video as it'll get it taken down or at least flagged. And no, it isn't the one on most streaming services you'll see that I'll put right here. If you really want to see it, you'll have to go to Google, and I won't give exactly what it was away because that kind of takes away from the designed impact, but I will say it definitely doesn't help that it was released in 2001. But if there's one thing you can't say about these guys, it's that they do it solely for shock value and to be edgy, because Boots Riley has been as vocal and active in politics as you could possibly be, and if this is some marketing shtick, it would be pretty weirdly impressive that he kept it up for all of these years, opposed to him just doing what he's actually interested in. It's obvious that this actually is where his interests lie, as he's a pretty extreme mix of that radical Public Enemy side with self-described communism. And while he may not have the same status or fame as PE, he's always been respected by his contemporaries and true hip-hop fans. There's never any compromise on his part. Boots is a rare enigma where he's extremely political and even went on some pretty high-profile shows to debate these topics, but he so clearly isn't putting a front on, where he only does work for the community to keep up a good rep. In fact, that's a pretty big reoccurring theme on Genocide and Juice, because despite the grimy, infectious production falling a bit more on the G-Funk side, you'll probably come to the realization at some point throughout the album that they were kind of mocking a lot of the big names at the time. It isn't directly saying who they're dissing, but like many rebellious underground records of the time, they more go at a general attitude and specific trends that they find corny, which then can be applied to a number of artists. Nothing is safe on here, from the idea of paying insane amounts of money to flex fake items, to skits where rich white country club members treat rap and black art like a commodity that's purpose is only to entertain them. A huge reoccurring theme on here is poverty and this Robin Hood-like mindset of getting pushed into crime to feed your family, but the only target you really prey on are the rich people who use their excess of inherited wealth on frivolous expenses like country club memberships, opposed to helping anyone in need. This idea of taking what the government won't provide you so you can feed your children and self is perfectly encapsulated in the insanely catchy hook for the track Taking These. That being, we are taking these if you please, we are taking these if you don't please. Which obviously has a slightly comedic element to it, but the situations that inspired it are anything but. You also have to give them credit for a discography full of memorable and creative song titles, a couple of my favorites being Me and Jesus the Pimp and a '79 Granada Last Night, 20,000 Gun Salute, and 5 Million Ways to Kill a CEO. I think really one of the only reasons that Genocide and Juice isn't as universally recognized as it deserves to be is due to how big a year 1994 was for hip-hop. Just a handful of the higher profile releases to dominate that year included Biggie's Ready to Die, Nas's Illmatic, Gangstar's Hard to Earn, Jeru the Damages, The Sun Rises in the East, Pete and CL's The Main Ingredient, UGK's Super Tight, Common's Resurrection, Beastie Boys' Ill Communication, MOP's To the Death, Gravedigger's 6 Feet Deep, DeBrat's Functified, Above the Law's Uncle Sam's Curse, and of course Outkast's legendary debut Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Obviously, those classics range in notoriety and status, but the point is, those are still barely a dent in the plethora of rap albums released in '94, and with the powerhouse debuts from both Nas and Big, it's easy for an album like Genocide and Juice to kind of get lost in the shuffle. But in my opinion, that's a damn shame, as it's why I wanted to give it a spotlight here, because not one thing on this album disappoints in the slightest, be it the hilarious skits, the funky yet grimy beats, or the forward-thinking, technical, and character-filled rhymes from both MCs. One example of this that pretty much sums up the mission statement on the entire project is when Boots Riley says, "Knock, knock, knock, motherfucker, let me in. I just want to kick in your big-ass den, and if you don't like it, take two to the chin and show me to the kitchen 'cause my kids is getting dizzy. I don't have to talk shit about packing a gat. In fact, you can get bucked by any other motherfucker where I live at. Hear that? Money here is crystal clear, punk. Fuck that fiscal year junk. Meet the pistol grip pump. Pistol grip pump. Meet Mr. Rockefeller. We finna take him out, do him like old Yella. It's been too damn long. These profits ain't been mutual. That's why today it won't be business as usual." While all the production on here is done in-house and the majority of the stage is shared between Boots and E-Rock, there are a couple other Bay Area legends who get guest appearances, both of whom I covered on this page actually earlier in this group, those being Spice One and E40. For honorable mentions on this one, I want to recommend tracks like Pimps or Freestylin' at the Fortune 500 Club, Gunsmoke, The Name Game, Hard Concrete, Santa Rita Weekend, Repo Man, and Interrogation. My three favorite songs overall off Genocide and Juice would have to be Fat Cats, Big a Fish, Taking These, and Hip to the Scheme. Thank you for watching my 107th video. Next time we're going to discuss another legendary debut to come from the beloved label Raucous Records. So check for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off this Oakland gem are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.